Welcome to the Best of Today podcast, the best bits of the best way to start your day with the Today programme on Radio 4. I'm Martha Kearney. Locked down as we all are, the whole idea of going to a music festival really does seem to be a kind of mirage, crammed together with thousands of other people, the kind of communal experience we haven't had for, nearly a year now? I first went to Latitude to see Arcade Fire back in 2007. I've been pretty well every year since then. And there are loads of highlights I can remember. But I suppose the best one was seeing a surprise appearance by Ed Sheeran in a small stage in the woods. The last time I'd seen Ed Sheeran live was in front of 25 people at Dis Cornwall, which was quite a long time ago, as you can imagine. So when will music fans get to see their favourite bands again? The news this week that Glastonbury's been cancelled has raised questions about all the other music festivals, around 1,000 in total, which could threaten as many as 170,000 jobs. The organisers say that it's because it's impossible to get cancellation insurance. They want the government to underwrite that. Talks have been going on with the Treasury. But given the government's already put £1.5 billion into a cultural recovery fund, is it fair to expect more money? I've been talking to Colin Greenwood from Radiohead about that. You'll also hear why he had to cut his fingernails to achieve worldwide fame. Radiohead have headlined at Glastonbury 3 times, the first back in 1997, playing in front of hundreds of thousands of fans. Bass player Colin Greenwood.
It's the one festival in the world where you can go and not see any of the bands and have the most incredible time. And it's just a very special, unique experience. It's probably like the greatest festival for us as a band that we've ever done.
I just can't imagine what it must be like standing on that stage, looking out at, hundreds of thousands of people?
I mean, it's kind of scary because you're there at the end of an evening, say. There could be like 50, 60,000 people watching you play. There could be another 50, 60,000 people having the most amazing time in dance tents or green fields, healing fields. And it's just extraordinary and it's unique and it's going to be sorely missed.
So what does all of this uncertainty mean for people who are trying to plan music events for later in the year?
I think that it's really important that the government supports the industry to have a plan to roll out for when we reach that point where it is safe to do the shows. And I think they need to start thinking about it now and not like just when we reach that point, say in October this year when there are enough people vaccinated for it to become safe. I mean, when Radiohead do a tour, we're thinking about planning minimum 6, 8, 9 months ahead. Because obviously there's so much infrastructure and support and crew and everyone to organise. And I think a lot of people in my industry have been looking on at the fisheries and what's been happening and slightly aghast to see how everything seems to have been left to the last minute. And we seem to be governed by essay crisis at the moment. Everything seems to be done at the last minute. And it just can't happen like that. We have to have a plan, before we get to that point where it's safe.
And for the members of Radiohead, you've done so well, you're fine financially, but I imagine you support the broader crews who make the tours possible.
Our crew is very much like our family because we've worked together since 91, 92, and they're the people that are keeping the whole thing going. It must have been really tough for them, really struggling to keep going and making sure that, when this all comes round again and we hit the road again, that the systems people are in place to start up again.
What do you think the broader impact is of the way that British musicians, haven't been able to travel to festivals, especially abroad?
I think because of coronavirus, nobody wants to go to anything or take part in anything that's going to turn into a super spreader event. But, obviously there has to be a way out of this through vaccination. Then I think we need to make sure that systems are in place that we can get back into doing what we love to do and what people love to see us for. And what this country, which is really great at doing, which is providing music and entertainment and musical emotional connection to people, not just in Europe, but around the world.
There are more than 1,000 music festivals all around the country. Melvin Benn is Managing Director of Festival Republic, which runs Leeds, Reading, Latitude, Download and others.
Glastonbury has the longest lead time of all festivals, staffing and creating the amazing spaces that they do. And, without any indication of being able to get any type of insurance in particular and any reassurance on the likelihood of being able to go ahead, it was an inevitable decision. People can't afford to take that financial risk.
Is it fair to ask the government to step in? They've already put, £1.57 billion into a culture recovery fund.
Yes, it's extraordinary. They put the £1.7 billion into the Cultural Recovery Fund to keep things closed. I really don't understand why they wouldn't, try to invest in getting things open. And that's the thing that sort of bemuses us all, really. I do think it's fair. What we're asking the government to do is to underwrite in the event that we wouldn't be able to go ahead because something unexpected was going to happen.
If you don't get that kind of commitment on insurance of the government, what could happen to festivals around the country? I think there are around 1,000 music festivals, aren't there?
At that point, staring into the same barrel that Glastonbury stared into at that point.
How can you ensure that festivals won't end up as super spreader events?
Well, adequate mitigation, really, and, people being vaccinated, people being tested, maybe even some use of face masks, maybe lots of sanitation places, etc., etc. We really just want to engage with government and the scientists in order to be able to determine whether the problems can be solved or not. And if they can't, they can't. But we believe that they can.
One of the people who is engaging with the government is Tim Thornhill from Tysers Insurance Brokers. Glastonbury is one of his clients.
We're in early stage talks at the moment, and we welcome that they are talking to us. We have no guarantee at this point that any sort of scheme will be put in place. We have helped to put in place the Film and TV Restart Scheme, which the Chancellor explained has saved 14,000 jobs last Tuesday. So if we can do something for events, that would be welcome across the industry. Frankly speaking, there's no incentive for the commercial insurance market to step in, whereas there would be more of an incentive for the government to assist because there are economic benefits to the local economy and the industry itself.
How much urgency is there?
Significant urgency. We need to get something in place quite quickly, I would say, within the next couple of months.
So where does all of this leave the musicians?
I can't play.
Locked down at home in South Oxfordshire,
Hang on, I'll try again.
Colin Greenwood has returned to an old skill.
Classical guitar, which I stopped playing for a large amount of time when I was doing Radiohead.
Why was it that you gave it up?
Fingernails. Double bass.
Really?
Yeah, electric bass. It's hard to play with fingernails, and then classical guitar, you have to have long nails, and now it'd be great with nail bars and stuff, you'd be sorted. But back in the day, I cut my nails because I was playing electric bass with Radiohead. It's given me a sense of performance and working on music that I've missed really badly. It's been really interesting coming back to it as a middle-aged bloke, because it gives you a different sort of take on playing, and it gives you a slight wanting to make a good performance when you play. I tell you what, it's more nerve-wracking playing this than playing in front of 60,000 people at Glastonbury. It really is.
That really made me laugh. Colin Greenwood performs in front of tens of thousands of people right round the world, and yet playing a bit of classical guitar on Zoom made him nervous. Now, we also got in touch with the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, which said the government is providing unprecedented support through our £1.57 billion Cultural Recovery Fund to help ensure the cultural sector recovers strongly from the pandemic. We're committed to helping bring the music sector back to full strength as soon as it's safe to do so. Thanks so much for listening to this Best of Today podcast. There are lots more interviews and the programmes which had guest editors on our website.